Oh, that was fun. So it looks like my overlay went boy. What is going on tonight? I'm just pulling shit back up. Crashed on me. Oh, that's cool. Lock back up. Doo-doo. Lock them docks, huh? Yeah. All right. So I got the chat reopened back up. That's cool. Fuck this. I'm gonna put this back where I had it. Oh, why not? Open Log in Epic. Oh, get the verbs. That was cool. That ain't. Restore the page.
Back out, so we finished
That's a
the
wrap.
first episode.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, I gotta log in before it's gonna let me get it. Open Copilot. That's crazy.
And we're live, and we have major news, major news from the Supreme Court and also on Letitia James. Oh, and a little bit of news on the personal front with this particular podcast that I'm super excited to share with you. Yeah, lots going on. Welcome to the program, everyone. I am Trish Regan.
I'm not liking this right now.
Poll numbers that are sinking as we speak, absolutely, positively sinking. And I'm telling you, her political career is over. She's going to be voted out as AG. Just days ahead, by the way. These numbers come just days ahead of the grand jury.
That's crazy. My whole background's not working.
Supreme Court just out literally minutes ago with a huge ruling saying that the 500,000 people from Haiti, Venezuela, Nicaragua, a few other places that were allowed in by the Biden administration through some kind of parole program for migrants, that program can indeed end. The Supreme Court ruling that Donald Trump and his administration has the ability now to deport and end the special parole that these people were getting. 500,000 migrants will be affected. So that's huge. Plus, DHS is targeting 30 sanctuary cities, pulling federal funds. Hey, you know what? You guys want to play that sanctuary game? Well, guess what? We're going to trump you, pun intended, all day long in court. We're pulling your money. Meanwhile, CBS News, boy, they're folding big time to Donald Trump. And I can't forget the most important headline of all. You know what? This is exciting, super exciting news. I just got the news yesterday. We are, right here on the Trish Regan Show, one of the top 100 podcasts on all of YouTube, like top 100 in the world on all of YouTube. So I am so honored and I'm so thrilled and I'm so flattered, and I can't believe what we've all been able to create here together. Because this has been, from day one, kind of, it started as a labor of love, right? I was like, let me try this YouTube thing, who knows, you know? And it has turned into just a massive, super successful, exciting project, and to be honored there in the top 100, I think we're number 52. Okay, so we're in the middle. But hey,
there we go. You kiss that shit goodbye.
Compare us with some of the people that are way up there.
So it don't matter where the fuck I move it.
Millions of subs. I mean, we're just 813,000 some odd strong, right? Here for subscribers on this channel. So I'm telling you, we're just getting started, and I'm blown away by your generosity, your support, and how you guys have gotten the word out. So this is in terms of viewership, how long people are watching the show, because you stay tuned. Wow, we are in the top 100 in the world, so I'm blown away, super excited. It's a huge accomplishment. Welcome to the show. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Indeed, Letitia James, Letitia baby's gonna be out as Attorney General, likely to be voted out. I'm looking at these poll numbers, and I mean, she kind of barely had a shot as it was. She was already suffering. I'm just gonna tell you, she was really kind of struggling in the last go around, and now you got the state of New York that I'm telling you is not as liberal or anti-Trump as New York City. And as a result of that, you know what? They're going to vote her out. They're going to vote her out. I mean, New York City is not as important as it once was. And this is what the City Journal just came out with this week. Letitia James's campaign is on the ropes. I mean, I don't even know how they're going to have any money, right? Because who wants to donate to a woman who's about to go to prison for 30 years because of falsifying, allegedly, her mortgage application documents? She's at odds also with like one of the big issues. So Siena College did this poll, and what they found was that the majority of New Yorkers were very comfortable and very much for the deportation of illegal immigrants.
You have one active mission.
And yet that is not something Letitia James believes in at all. So just to go through some of the numbers with you, 79% of the people in New York that would be voting Letitia out, they back deporting immigrants that have been convicted of a crime. Don't forget, Letitia is trying to prevent ICE from getting into Rikers. Fortunately, the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, worked with Tom Homan, and what do you know? ICE is back at Rikers Island, so they're able to do their job there. But it's in this sort of defiance of what Letitia James has going on. 39% back deporting immigrants with no criminal record. 42% opposed that, but 39% backed it, and then the rest of them kind of don't really know or they don't want to say. 59% do not want taxpayers paying for migrants' medical care. I mean, that's a biggie. You're talking about basically 60%, let's call it, right? Only 26% were in favor, and the others didn't want to say or didn't know. So
No, I
the
have to
majority of New
find
York is saying, you know what,
something
we
that I
don't
don't
want to
even
pay
know
for
where
somebody
it's at
else's
on my
medical
computer.
care. Letitia, you're once again at odds with the rest of your state. 48% support federal efforts to deport all illegal migrants. Only 31% oppose it. You know, this deportation of illegal migrants is becoming such an issue. You know, those in New York City that may support Letitia James, they're very particular with their language. Like this lady on CNN, who's just terrible at her job, by the way. Like she almost doesn't have all the wires connecting upstairs, which is really funny when you see Stephen Miller actually go on with her. Oh, this is great. Okay, but this is the point on immigration. Remember where New Yorkers are. They want illegals that are here and have committed a crime deported. They want even illegals that are here illegally deported. And so Stephen Miller gets into it with the CNN lady.
I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means. I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake social security number.
That's neither here nor there. That's getting away from
in
the
their home
question,
country.
Stephen. I want this to be, and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right now.
But when we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
All right,
An
does
illegal
this
alien
risk?
is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's
So,
another
look,
discussion
will-
for
I
another
don't
day.
know.
Another discussion for another day. Oh, believe me, they keep going at it. I'm actually going to show you a few more clips from Stephen Miller because they're just unbelievable.
Oh, I gotta
and-
put the
and you
fucking
gotta see
chroma
them.
key in that shit right now.
There's going to be a lot of Stephen Miller. So if you're not a Stephen Miller fan in this show, watch out because we get a few more.
Yeah, we'll worry about that some other time. It is what it is.
From him. He was on the airwaves, all over the airwaves this morning, and obviously with the immigration news.
I'll
that's a
fix that
big
shit some
deal.
other
But again, I
fucking
want to
time.
get back to these
I
poll
don't-
numbers because as you look at these, they're really, really softening. And this
I'm
is what
already
the City
annoyed
Journal
as shit.
is now reporting because they're looking at her vis-a-vis Kathy Hochul. They also actually brought up an interesting thing, and you know, for what it's worth, take it for what it's worth. They're saying that Andrew Cuomo, if he's elected mayor of New York, and their belief is that he will, so you know, take that again with a grain of salt, but that he's going to make her life absolutely miserable because they are political rivals, and he doesn't like Letitia James. And don't forget, she was the one who was sort of trying to put the nail in his coffin back when he was going down as a result of some of that 2020 stuff and you know, the charges with women, etc. So no love lost there. So she's going to have the political odds effectively stacked against her, leading the City Journal to say, you know, they don't think that she's going to make it. And I think that, you know, when you sum up all these big issues that are plaguing New York right now, and then you look at her history of challenges and sort of where she has been on some of these issues that politically are just not aligned, especially when it comes to immigration with the rest of New York, she's going to have some big problems, right? You know, I found this the other day, and I wanted to share this with you. When she was riding high after she had gotten that $500 million verdict against one Donald Trump, she came out with a very interesting statement. And I think this is going to come back to haunt her in a huge way as we see that case move forward with her grand jury indictment coming any day now because of the alleged mortgage fraud. She said something really clever. She said, when powerful people cheat to get better loans, this is her talking about Trump, it comes at the expense of honest and hardworking people. Everyday Americans cannot lie to a bank, to get a mortgage, to buy a home, and if they did, our government would throw the book at them. There simply cannot be different rules for different people. Now, Donald Trump is finally facing accountability for his lying, cheating, and staggering fraud. Because no matter how big, rich, or powerful you think you are, no one is above the law. Wow, this is like poetic. I mean, like, wow, Tishy, honey, it's like you wrote it for yourself. right? I mean, she's using federal taxpayer dollars. That's the kicker in all this. I mean,
Is that
at
the
least
heart of gold I see out
may
there?
have, inflated his square foot.
No airing their own franchises for the heart of gold.
And he may have thought it was worth one thing when, you know, she thinks it's worth another. I'm going to go with what the bank thinks, right, in that case, because they're the ones taking on the risk of the loan. But in the case of Letitia James, she's actually using your money, federal taxpayer dollars, to fund her alleged mortgage fraud, and therein lies the problem. The director of the Federal Housing Authority, one William Pulte, came out the other day. This is relatively new sound. I think we did play it for you as soon as it came out, but I love this because he's pointing out that he knows what mortgage fraud is, and Letitia is guilty.
Recommended that the DOJ investigate New York Attorney General Letitia James over alleged mortgage fraud. The AG, Letitia James, has responded. We don't have the video, but here's the quote. This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia resident. And prior to that, I indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. They just took the power of attorney and they're using that as a basis for enforcement of their investigation. Bill, do you know why she said she was a resident of Virginia on the power of attorney, if in fact she wasn't?
Well, I know that we are mortgage experts, and we only refer things that we think are mortgage fraud, and we stand 100% behind the letter. I'll let the letter speak for itself. I do know, and I have seen some reports from that subject's criminal defense lawyer saying certain things. I'll leave it to the DOJ to correct various things. But again, when we see mortgage fraud, we are going to report it. When we see mortgage fraud, we are going to prosecute it within the confines of our duties. And we are not going to be intimidated by a subject's criminal defense lawyer. We are not going to be intimidated by a politician or just because you have an Esquire behind your name. We are not going to be intimidated by people. If we see mortgage fraud, we're going to do something about it. And I think that you're going to see us be taking this on in a big way. Mortgage fraud is a big problem. These companies are safe and sound, but where we see it, we are going to do something about it.
Look at that.
Subject cases, no different.
Well, what are the ramifications of this now that you've referred this for criminality to the DOJ?
Well, I would refer that to the DOJ. Again, as I say, we spend our days, we are mortgage experts, we are not politicians. I do this as an academic job, obviously. In that way, but I look at this as an independent agency. We found the mortgage fraud, whether it be that particular subject or other subjects, and we work actively with the DOJ and different law enforcement.
Operations in getting an alert for some individuals. Can you check the readings on your end?
All right, let's get to those poll numbers.
Sure,
Here, I want to
let
show
me
you
take
what
a
they're
look.
saying because
Computer,
she's just not
can you
in
bring
good
up the
shape.
engine
I mean,
diagnostics?
she's basically
Pulling
everybody keeps
up
talking about
diagnostics
Chuck
now.
Schumer. Everybody keeps talking about Chuck Schumer, and what I
Looks
just want to
like
say,
we
and how
have
he's
a
just in
slight
such
about
bad
fluctuation.
shape, and
Seems to
gosh,
have
AOC
settled the
can
winner.
make a run for it. Look at her.
Roger
She's
Tratos.
doing a lot
Computer
worse
players continue
than
to
Chuck
monitor
Schumer.
and alert me
40%
if
favorable
they say
rating,
another
which she's
cover
getting.
speak.
It's coming entirely from New York City. Okay,
Confirmed.
but then you look at unfavorable, that's pretty high at 33%. And then you look at the 27% that don't know, and you add those up, you're looking at 60%. Okay, this is very different than in 22. She's looking at a whole different set of numbers right now. So yeah, I have every expectation that Letitia James is going to be voted out in New York, and a lot of it is because of what she did to Donald Trump and how people are perceiving that. A lot of it is because of where she stands on immigration and how at odds she is with the rest of the state, and a lot of it is because a lot of people are just not going to want somebody who was lying on her federal loan applications, allegedly, when she was trying to go after Donald Trump for that. Now, she's saying, oh, this is just a technicality. It's just a technicality, nothing to see here. I beg to differ when you look at the succession, right? The succession of alleged crimes, as Stephen Miller also pointed out this week.
One of the most corrupt, shameless individuals.
What's the status of the communication array?
She's guilty not only of those crimes,
It's all
but of
good.
countless more crimes.
They just
by
finished
using and
installing
abusing her
some
public
upgrades.
office to try to persecute an innocent man, depriving him of his rights, engaging in a conspiracy to obstruct our election and to overthrow our democratic
my shit's
procedures.
acting stupid because they can't do the transition and shit no more.
Serial criminal violence.
That's crazy. They poo-pooed on me.
The generosity, you better believe we're going for $1 million here on this channel. 800 some odd thousand.
There's so many
subs,
fucking fleet carriers out here.
Here we come. Yeah, you know what? I have a feeling Letitia's, you know what, is Letitia's tushy. How do you like that? Tishy's tushy is gonna be in prison, okay? Because this is a big deal. It carries up to 30 years. And when he's talking about a serial criminal aspect to this, you think about putting down on that mortgage application. I'm sorry, she's a lawyer. She can tell us, oh, it's just a power of attorney, all she wants. She's trying to say it's her principal residence as recently as 2023, when she was in the middle of the litigation against Donald Trump. I mean, come on. Tishy, those in glass houses, shall we say, should not be throwing stones. Take a look at the
There
house
is so many of them here picking up materials.
There's Norfolk, Virginia house. That's the house in question. Then there's the brownstone in Brooklyn. When we say, serial violator, potentially 2001, she's owned that house since, and she's been saying it's 4 levels instead of 5 because you see you get a better rate on the mortgage because you qualify for federal funds. Woo! And then there's this one, 1983. I realized it was a while ago, but who the heck puts yourself down as your dad's wife just because you want to buy a place, right? This is all adding up to a huge amount of trouble. The media is mad at her. Voters are mad at her. She will be voted out. You've got, look at this. New York Magazine, of all things. We've been talking about this, how even the liberal
so lost right now.
parts of New York, media members in New York are turning on her because they know Letitia is out. I mean, one of the interesting things that they write is in this particular piece, it's a fact beyond reasonable dispute that Letitia James weaponized her official power as New York's Attorney General to pursue Donald Trump for political purposes. Okay, so when they're saying that, I have a feeling it's pretty bad, not to mention that they talk about how she got this massive $500 million fine against him. It does need to be thrown out. But she was, quote, wildly inappropriate in her out-of-court statements. Things that would ordinarily, they say, get a prosecutor fired. And yet she was allowed to get away with this? Come on. I mean, even when the court knew that this is all ridiculous, right? They even voiced all that skepticism. They said it over and over. Here's one of the judges. I mean, this is a private transaction. Why the heck are you bringing it to us? Period.
Was using... Sorry, but what's being described sounds an awful lot like a potential commercial dispute between private actors.
Well, to go back to the first question about whether there's other examples of this, there are other examples of this. In the first American case, the Attorney General brought a 6312 case where the transaction at issue was between a very big bank, Wells Fargo, and a professional appraisal firm.
But it wasn't the
Eva installed the new company. The engine showed the running smoothly now.
Negatively impacted, affected.
And then in this particular case,
what was the name of the ship? That's what I want to know.
Transaction where you actually have no victims, and the bank said they do the loan again 10 times over. So now the Eastern District of Virginia has issued those subpoenas, and one can expect that an indictment is coming momentarily as this grand jury investigation begins. One of the most amazing parts of it all, though,
Trailblazer
is
dream.
so sort of tone deaf against
That's what
the
I'm
voters
saying.
who are going to vote her out, that she's out there trying to take their money to cover her legal expenses. Again, back to this polling information, I want to point out that Siena College Research Institute poll from earlier this year found that while James has more favorable poll numbers than Kathy Hochul, she's definitely out, her 40 to 33% favorable-unfavorable split is actually worse than one would expect for a Democrat Attorney General in the state of New York. In other words, she's really underwater as to where she should be, or even to where she previously has been. Taking a look again at those numbers, look at that. As I said, 40% favorable, 33% unfavorable, with 27% not knowing, adding up to 60%.
This
very
nonsense.
much in doubt. And who knows how much people
Operationsy web identifikace potentiál isto veliký
this
scaling
aspect
system.
to her, the fact that she's
Vešol
now
také
coming
ako
forward
sa
saying, oh, I need money. money. I need $10 million to fight Donald Trump for myself, for my own personal misdoings. That's not going to fly. People do not like that they're going to have to cover Letitia James. Think about it. The polls show that the majority of people in New York don't want to have to cover the Medicaid costs, the medical costs of any of the illegal migrants that she's fighting for. You think they want to cover her legal costs?
So
I don't think so, especially when she's got this high-flying, high-priced attorney. Hey, why don't you just take a public defender, Tishy baby, for free, right? Because, you know, they're cutting off her access to the GOP is
don't get me fucked up, Lord. That's all I ask.
As they should. Because why should New York taxpayers have to cough up money for Letitia James when these are issues of her own doing, something that was brought up in the New York Post?
Landing gear retracted.
We do not have any limpets.
Night vision.
Should I cancel the launch sequence?
Speed until a carrier is far behind you.
Chosen to use the resources of
night vision.
to respond to the investigation.
All right, then.
To which I just keep saying it's
Understood.
It's poetic. It's poetic because I do recall a time on ABC News where Letitia James gave a big interview saying, what if he does not have the money to cover this verdict and these fines, then we will seize his assets.
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek out, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we'll ask the judge to seize his assets.
You have now departed the no-fire zone. Take care out there, Commander.
I know you're from Oregon and you've talked a lot about how there's a lot of people that are actually very conservative out there. I appreciate your generosity and your compliments on this show. Growing. Again, 813,000 strong, on our way to 1 million. Then shortly after 2 million, right? We're going to keep growing as one of the top 100 podcasts. Imagine that on YouTube. It's just incredible. But I love this, right? Because it is poetic justice.
Frame shift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Up to 30 years. I don't know if she'll get it, but 18 U.S.C. 1014. False statements to obtain a federally insured loan. 18 U.S.C. 1001. False statements to the government. These are serious charges, honey baby, and they come with serious consequences. We had a huge win for the administration. I want to tell you about major win on immigration coming out moments ago. Breaking news first. However, fully independent. We love it that way here on the Trish Regan Show. So we love our sponsors, including our sponsors that love America. And by the way, make it easier so that your calls don't drop. Do you know how many times my calls were dropping until Patriot Mobile came along? Because they actually give you 3 different providers, all for one. Imagine that, all for one. And they're using a portion of your money to give back to our veterans and to help support our Constitution, all these good causes, and of course help support the Trish Regan Show. So we love them just for that, right? PatriotMobile.com/Trish. You can call them 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. You get 1 month free for switching. You can keep your phone, you can keep your mobile number, and I'm telling you guys, I live in kind of a rural area, so I go crazy. AT&T, I'm looking at you, all right? So it happens a lot where you drop calls. The advantage here, however, is if one cell signal is not working so well, then guess what? One of 2 others kicks in. So another reason to love Patriot Mobile, in addition to all the good things that they're doing for our veterans, for our country, and to support our First Amendment by helping to support the Trish Regan Show. So I can bring this to you for free every day. Huge win for Donald Trump.
Just a moment.
News, everyone, right now.
Class K stars are yellow-orange main sequence stars with a long and generally stable life. They range in mass from 0.6 to 0.9 solar masses and have a surface temperature reaching 5,000 Kelvin.
Scans show 24 stellar bodies here.
Of the Supreme Court, a major decision, as I said, just released, hot off the presses right now. The unsigned order Friday comes for now after a lower court injunction that stopped the government from removing
Scans show 24 stellar bodies here.
while the case proceeds. So the Biden administration had granted these temporary paroles to large groups of immigrants from these 4 countries if they met certain criteria, allowing them to seek work authorization and their legal protections for 2-year terms.
Homeboy boogieing across.
The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, came in and said, you know what, we don't really think this works. They canceled the mass parole approval program.
That's pretty as
fuck.
fuck.
Was the Trump administration ramping up its efforts to crack down on this mass immigration. So you have actually 532,000 citizens from those 4 countries, as I mentioned, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, that are affected according to these court filings. As expected, you had Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor saying this request granted. Dissented publicly from the court's decision, writing Jackson writing that the consequences of allowing the administration to move forward and revoke the parole program's protections would be sharply disruptive to the people affected. Again, oh my gosh, we have to care so much about these people who are coming in illegally, and we need to care about them. And I think the Trump administration said, no. We actually need to care about us. We need to care about the people that are already in this country. And what the heck was he doing? 532,000 people? I mean, what was going on? Really? I mean, they really were trying to create that borderless society. I think it's pretty obvious. Stephen Miller just obliterated a CNN anchor, if you can call her that, on the program this morning. I gotta show you this because he's got a certain magic about him. I mean, he knows the law inside and out, and he is so unafraid and just willing to call it as he sees it. Let's take a listen.
Do you think the judge should just rubber stamp what the White House does? If not, what checks and balances do you think should be in place for this White House?
It's not the job of the district court judge to perform an individual green light or red light on every single policy that the president takes as the head of the executive branch. Just think about the premise baked into your
successful, engines disengaged.
You're saying that when the American people elect the president of the United States of America, this is the implication, who is the sole head of the executive branch, let me finish. I will answer the question after.
Repairs, fuel, equipment, check. Completed.
You said, is it my expectation? It's the whole media. In other words, when you say a sentence like,
it is a completely fair question.
No. And I will gladly answer it. When you say, do we think district court judges should rubber stamp each action? There is a premise that is built into that is absurd. The president is the sole head of the executive branch. She's the only officer in the entire government that's elected by the entire American people. Democracy cannot function. In fact, democracy does not exist at all if each action the president takes, foreign policy, diplomatic, military, national security, has to be individually approved by 700 district court judges. That's democracy. So if there's 15 communist crazy judges on the court, that each of them as a team working together can block and freeze each and every executive action.
Right? Then you get a problem. And that's exactly what keeps coming up over and over again. So this was a small-time judge, right? A lower court injunction that had stopped the administration from trying to get rid of this parole program for 532,000 people that somehow Biden just like waved a magic wand and said, come on in. Do not forget, again, the U.S. Constitution, the supremacy clause in the U.S. Constitution, which, by the way, was challenged in 2012 out in Arizona over the exact issue of immigration. And what was decided was that the federal government has full jurisdiction over who is in this country. And so you can do sanctuary cities all you want, but you know what? If the federal government decides to challenge it, as they are challenging it right now, it's game over.
406 transport be killing them.
And so as a result of that, you now have the administration coming out, DHS, and saying we got 30 cities. They're all sanctuary cities. And we're going to strip them of all federal funds because they are not cooperating with ICE.
I need all my shit right now.
Not adhering to the law. And so they will
Those is my people, though.
funded. Why are federal taxpayers paying for the support of people who are here in the country illegally, while federal taxpayers elected the President of the United States to get rid of all this stuff? Here it is. I'm telling you, it's like the Stephen Miller show today. For goodness sakes, he was great. I mean, he's always great, and he happened to do a lot of TV yesterday and today. So let's listen in.
A goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day, and President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number up higher each and every single day, so we can get all of the Biden illegals that were flooded into our country for 4 years out of our country. And we can't take the risk of letting these Biden illegals roam around freely so that the next American daughter can get raped, the next American kid can get murdered, the next American family can get splintered and torn apart by people that came into this country unchecked, uncontrolled, unvetted, uninvited by the American people. After the reconciliation bill, Sean,
Without all this place loaded and accounted for,
the big beautiful bill is the largest tax
And
cut
the
reform
temperature
in
control
American
is
history.
functioning properly.
The most
We won't have any
significant
spoilers.
energy reform, unlocking American energy in American history. Deregulation like we've never seen before. The most significant, largest welfare reform in American history. But the bill also includes the complete fulfillment of President Trump's campaign promises on every aspect of immigration and homeland security, so that we can have permanently the safest, strongest, most secure immigration system in American history, Sean.
Wow. Okay. So that was there on Hannity last night. As I said, he's been on the airwaves. He's very passionate about this issue. You have 4 years to think about it, guys. That was the problem, right? You know what? You allowed them all back in. And this is not the same administration that we saw before. No way, Jose.
Yeah, they got everything.
Nashville versus the Feds. Nashville,
They don't fuck
Tennessee,
around.
for some reason, is fighting this hard. You get
Hey computer,
Freddie.
can you give me
Freddie
an update on
O'Connell
our power distribution?
in Nashville, the mayor, who said he's going to do
Sure
everything he
thing.
can to protect
Engineering.
migrants. Again, I'm like, guys,
Currently,
you keep
higher
trying
levels
that,
are stable
you're gonna
and
lose
within
all your
normal
federal
parameters.
funding, and you yourself may actually
That's good to
find
hear.
yourself.
I don't want any surprises when we enter the next system.
Obstructing the law. Supremacy clause, commerce clause, naturalization clause, you name it, it's all over the Constitution. So anyway, the feds did raid this construction site in Nashville, Tennessee today.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
Apparently there were some illegal migrants working there, so they're mean business.
Some. Oh my God.
They are going after the people there.
That's a
Now they
lot
have
of-
the Supreme
wow,
Court
some.
allowing for them to deport people. 532,000 non-cities from the 4 countries, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, that the previous administration, Joe Biden, was somehow given a green light to. It's all coming as the representative from that area in Nashville, Tennessee, Representative Ogles, Andy Ogles, says he's launching an investigation into the mayor because they don't understand how it is that the mayor can be using federal funds to allow for all this illegal migration to continue.
I will always stand on the rule of law and with ICE. And I don't just stand with ICE, I'll stand in front of ICE. Because we, the people, have had enough. I choose my community, my state, and my family over this type of nonsense. Which is why, due to the remarks of Freddie O'Connell and the potential for aiding and abetting illegal immigration, the Homeland Security and the Judiciary Committees will be conducting an investigation into the mayor of Nashville, his conduct, and whether or not federal dollars have been used in criminal enterprise. I will not back down. I will not relent. And I will always stand with law enforcement. I want my community and I want my country back. This is Andy Ogles. Thank you for being here.
Just amazing, just amazing. Andy Ogles, again, a pretty impressive, passionate commentary from him. I just want to say thanks to Trace, one of our viewers here, for your generosity and for your kind words, and importantly for your
Frame shift charge detected.
that. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for saying congratulations on 800,000. I'm just blown away because we are one of the top, I mean, think of all the podcasts in the world, right? Top 100 podcasts on all of YouTube. So that is thanks to you guys. I mean, we're beating out The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. I think we beat Ben Shapiro, who I love, but by the way, that's kind of an accomplishment because I think he has 8 million subs. We only get 813,000. So we're growing, and we're going to keep it up. 30 sanctuary cities going to be defunded by DHS, and this is turning into a major ordeal, okay? So impressive what we've seen thus far, if you would, from, they call her Ice Barbie, and that's meant to be derogatory, but I actually see it as a compliment. Because she's so pretty. Christy Nome, I'm talking about. I mean, she's so pretty.
Computer, how are we doing on fuel?
I just want to get...
Our fuel levels are at 100% at the moment.
Christy Nome. She's taking it on in a really good way.
Landing gear retracted.
You do not have any limpets on board.
Engines engaged.
Should I cancel the launch sequence?
Los Angeles, watch out. I can go on and on and on. Another big story that is in the news today.
Okay.
Is also trying to point out that a migrant has been framed. And it is not fair because DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and Christy Nome's beat, this illegal migrant threatened the life of the president and did so in a letter. And so now they are going after this illegal migrant. And they're saying this isn't fair, that actually he's being framed. Miller's response. I told you the Miller shoot. Yes, it is Miller time. All right, here he is. I think this one's on CNN. You get the CNN host very inarticulately trying to defend here this migrant. He's like, I'm sorry. You had me.
Undocumented migrant sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up, was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do?
Frameshift drive charging.
Immigrant, I gave it a note that, but this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up.
Engage.
Verify with the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that. But it does.
Undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means. I'm assuming they have a fake ID, and if you assuming they have a fake
Okay,
social security
that's
number.
neither here nor there. That's getting away from the question, Stephen. I want this to be, and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right now.
When we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
All right, does this risk?
Illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another date.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats. Regardless of the facts or circumstances, we don't want him here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I would gladly come back on.
They were set up. They were set up, just to be clear. But quickly, where is the White House on habeas corpus?
Unfairly. Yes, I'm sure the illegal alien was treated very unfairly.
Okay, where is?
But I think his point is, he's here illegally. So if you're here illegally, you're here illegally. Like, it's kind of hard to get beyond that. Right? That's the elephant in the room. This is what happened with the Garcia thing. I mean, okay, so apparently he's wrongly deported, but you heard Miller on that one. He's like, he's really not wrongly deported because he was deported because he was believed to be involved in a very serious criminal organization, MS-13, and so as a result, we're going to send him out. Like, what do you expect us to do? Roll over backwards and say, you know, we want to do everything we can for you, to help you, to rehabilitate you? I guess. I mean, why else was Biden saying 532,000 non-citizens from 4 countries could come into this country via this parole program? A parole program that now the Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to get rid of. Huge news today. I mean, speaking of Tennessee, by the way, another politician from Tennessee who's not a fan of the migration thing, he's calling out the big auto man. It's like the auto man is striking back, right? Because he has a feeling some funny stuff went on, and he's not the only one. James Comer now opening an investigation, but first, my friend Benny had him on his program, and listen listen to what Representative Tim Burchett was saying about the potential for illegal activity that may have gone down vis-a-vis the auto pen, because, you know, whether it be Biden okaying 532,000 people to come here and get this program from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, or Venezuela, or whether it be these pardons, like over 8,000 of them, it's clear that Biden's not actually doing anything. Heck, the guy was on vacation more than 5 days and he's doing most of any president. Yeah, to keep getting all that summer on the beach.
Hello, Commander. Please stay aware of other ships around this carrier. Access granted. Proceed to your allocated pad, Commander. You have been cleared for approach. Feel free to relax. Your docking computer is in control.
It's a cash for clemency deal, and that's exactly what I think you're going to find out. You're going to find staffers that were able to take forms, get them, and run them through some sort of bogus legal system, and then they auto-tend them. There's probably people out on the street that shouldn't be, but somebody got rich on that, and I think those people will. I hate to say it, but you'll see some people up in the because it goes up the chain. It's very dangerous.
Landing gear deployed.
I know you're a group thing, but I'm just talking about history. And if, you got somebody making $100,000 a year and somebody offers you $250,000, so safety deposit box.
Maybe they're going to take it. Well, he brought this up, and then Comer, the House Judiciary Committee chair, took it a step further. Comer's like on the warpath. He wants to know exactly what went down with those auto pens, exactly who was in charge, speculation that he may have been the chief of staff.
Greetings.
Now for one, Dr. Jill Biden. Dr. Jill, you can tell her that's what the subject.
We've got you safe and sound. Solid approach. Enjoy your stay with us.
He is livid over this. I want you to see.
I think Democrats
Repairs. Fuel. Weapons. Check. Request complete.
I think they know the legacy media networks were lying about Joe Biden's mental health. They were lying about
Computer,
Joe
can you bring
Biden's
up the system map for our current location?
peddling the office of the
Bringing up
presidency.
the map now, home.
And when you've got a family that was clearly guilty of influence peddling, a president who was not mentally aware of what was going on, and you're issuing wide-reaching executive orders and pardons, and the only people that are in the White House representing the Biden family are people who were found in our investigation of influence peddling, then it raises a lot of questions as to what was the decision process and who was forging, because if Joe Biden wasn't authorizing, someone was forging his name on some very important documents.
Okay. Somebody's forging his name, so the question is who was doing that? And that goes back to what Tim Burchett is saying, is we need to know the answer about who was doing that, because maybe somebody was getting paid to do that, and that could have been a pay for pardon type of scandal. I mean, this is a big deal. So now Comer's saying, and this is kind of funny because I'm like, oh, good luck with this thing. He's saying, you know what, I want to get to the bottom of it. And if I have to drag Biden in for testimony, even though it's hard to do that, he's president, I will do it. And I'm sort of sitting there going, okay, well, like, is he going to make it long? And if he does show up for testimony, I think I'll how that will go down. Anyway, here's Comer. He's not enough. Good.
We're going to see who was giving the directive to sign these. If everyone says...
We seem to be missing limpets. Should I cancel the launch sequence?
You have liftoff.
Donald Trump into some things, but at any rate, wherever the trail leads is where we're going to bring them in.
Okay.
Boom! Okay, he's saying wherever the trail leads us. So, anyways, that was clever with the autopilot thing. You can get around everything. Maybe he's not the best, but that's actually coming back to haunt you in a really big way. And you know I have no love lost for Jake Tapper and
Bizlere alihimdiyuna hizmet
part
ofis.
of the problem. But in
Lisem
some
to
ways,
khabsun bomben.
that Jake is
Nothing but
right
now, but they let you know if
Look,
anything comes
because
up.
if a
Kevin,
conservative
Joey,
had
Air,
written
well,
this
God,
book,
Brett.
nobody would have taken it quite as seriously. But the fact that you've got a guy on CNN coming out and finally admitting what we all saw, right? Remember what we saw at G7, where poor Biden was trying to find
Friendship
the
drive
parachute
charging.
guy. He wanders off, and Georgia Maloney.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Looking through his camera shot, making sure his hair's okay, right? At least Georgia, she's a sweet lady. It goes over there to rescue him, but you can't rescue him. You know why? Because he's in a bad state. He can barely put his sunglasses on his head. We're watching the live feed, and yet they wanted us to think this guy was okay. This guy, that when he was asked questions, he said, "I better not take the questions." And he looks like he's ready to pass out.
Super Tuesday said you have a message.
I mean, he looks ill. He looks sick in this, and yet they kept him propped up. I mean, to the point where, there was that invisible chair moment, remember? There was a chair, by the way. They got mad at the media because some media said, oh, there was no chair. But there was indeed a chair, but he just seems so out of it. Trace is reminding all of you, Trace, a veteran.
I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border legally. It's better when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get to the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more border patrol and more asylum.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. All we had to do was leave. All we had to do was leave. We decided to open up our border, open up our country to people.
That was one of those very, very special moments. Trace, thank you again for your generosity. He's reminding everybody to like and to share and to comment, because this is how we get bigger and this is how we get the truth out. I'm sitting there saying during all of this, right? You guys can't run him. What are you thinking? You can't run this guy. There's just no way. And yet they were the ones saying, no, you're a cheap fake, by daring to suggest that he's not at full mental capacity. Remember Joe Scarborough, best Biden ever? And that's what we heard over and over and over again, repeated. And so now the question becomes, who was behind all that? Why were they doing that? Think about it. They actually wanted him to get another 4 years. If he had gotten another 4 years, how many more migrants would have come in? I mean, 532,000 non-citizens from the likes of Venezuela, Nicaragua, Haiti, and Cuba being allowed in under his program. The Supreme Court saying, yeah, you can put an end to that. You better believe you can put an end to that. I mean, all these people that covered up for him, why were they doing it? Just because they hated Trump. No, Trump was actually good for the country. If you're a liberal and you're all about the middle class, which you're supposed to be, but I don't think they are. They're all themselves. That is the problem with communism and socialism. It never works. You try to
Docking request granted.
Okay? It doesn't work because they're too self-centered and too self-focused for it to ever work. But if you're thinking, okay, I want the middle class to do better, guess what? We had the highest raise in wages, median income under Donald Trump in the first 4 years prior to 2020. You actually had a border that was being patrolled. You actually had the onshoring of all these companies who wanted to come back to the USA because we had better tax incentives here. It was all good. And they couldn't stand it, right? So they're going to let a guy in there who mentally was not cognitively there, and then they're going to lie about it like Jen Psaki now said, how dare you use the word cover-up. It wasn't a cover-up. Cover-up implies
Landing gear deployed.
Aspect to it. Maybe that's what it was.
I left in May of 2022, just for the facts here. And I have seen Biden once since then, when I took my daughter to the holiday party this last December after he had lost. And so I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly, or things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that, or would have been in a category of that. I don't know, possibly, right? And officers are going to tell us.
Were they actively covering it up? Were they sort of in denial, or was that just a bad debate? Like, what is your read on that?
Well, this is what I mean about cover up.
Repairs,
Very
fuel,
term.
weapons, check.
That it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise, versus you're diluting yourself. That's what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up
Request
is
complete.
like a crime, right? We're talking people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing anybody of a crime.
I understand,
here,
but other people have used that term, and I
Yeah.
think it's a bit of a dangerous term.
Dangerous for who? Dangerous for you, Peppermint Patty?
Number on it, Veneto perform
Come
routine
on,
maintenance
come
on Red
on,
Rooster
right?
soon.
Dangerous term, like we just call it like we see it. And what they did was they covered it up and they tried to get
Cargo
it
hold
another
at
4
maximum
years. And it
capacity.
wasn't
Is
until
scheduled for 1800
somebody had
hours.
the bad
Number
sense
1.
to allow him to go on
We
that
should be
debate
idling
stage
at that
and
time anyway while the crew takes
Lady
a break.
Macbeth, where were you? I mean, Dr. Jill, come on. Like, you knew it was bad, right? Would you have actually allowed him to go on stage and embarrass himself that badly? I mean, she may be power hungry, but she's clearly not that smart. Right? There was no going back.
I saw Esther on the table in the lamb earlier.
Had to actually come out and say something. And that was when George Clooney even felt like he had to
All right,
come out and say
guys.
something. So great.
I'm gonna call it there for y'all, but I'm gonna keep it pushing.
Did you forget the
I got
limpets?
things to do.
Should I
You
cancel
feel
the
me?
launch sequence?
Yeah, nah, I'm just playing. I got a lot more running to do, and I ain't gonna make y'all suffer through it. So, love, peace, chicken grease, holla.
I wonder. Maybe they needed
Understood.